Extreme Anime Radio. It is the one and the only Extreme Anime Radio podcast. Good evening, everybody. I can't even say good evening. February 12th, 2025, XAR Podcast, Season 11, Episode 3, if my count is correct. I'm JR. Thanks for joining us. Joining me, as per usual, on my left side is Mr. Neff Canuck. Hello, sir.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Hanging in there. Let's see. I'm trying this new filter now for the web camera, and you can see it's not the best, but it's not crashing my Wi-Fi. It's not crashing my software. It's not doing any sort of random things other than these squiggly lines on the side of my profile here.
Yeah, it looks like you're almost perfect as long as you stay absolutely still. You start moving around, and that's when things start smearing.
So I've been playing around with this script all evening here, and that noise tells us that Flax has resubscribed. 39 months of XAR membership. Thank you, Flax, as per usual. Really appreciate everything that you do to help us out. I decided to leave that on for the podcast tonight, but if somebody spins the slots, we will not hear that, because then that will be more distracting.
More distractions, just what we all need in the world right now.
Yeah, exactly. So welcome everybody to those watching or listening through Twitch or YouTube or the podcasting realm, respectively. Remember to go to xarpodcast.net to download our podcasts, or go to your favorite podcasting platform, or find Extreme Anime Radio on Twitch or YouTube. So I've got a little bit of a festive atmosphere. This is the Temple's Ferris wheel in Osaka behind me. You, sir, are celebrating something that's happening starting tonight, I believe, the Four Nations Faceoff in hockey.
That is correct. This is the first best on best hockey that they've played since 2016.
Okay.
Now, of course, it doesn't include all the big guns for various reasons, and is more of an appetizer for what happens next year in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Because, of course, next year in Italy is the Olympics.
Right.
Where you're not going to only have the big few, you're going to have all the nations of the world willing to compete, including some who will show up, get thoroughly demolished, and go home crying in their pasta.
Now, this is something that happens irregularly, right? Not just before the Winter Olympics?
Well, that is the plan now. This is now going forward.
Okay.
A joint venture between the NHL and the PA to do this every 2 years, like it was between the Olympics.
Okay.
So it'll be this year, Olympics, then in 2018, they'll do this, and then the Olympics. So I'm guessing in between they might do All-Star games again. I don't know.
Okay. 2018 is 7 years ago, but I think you meant future.
2028. Yeah, it's been a day. We've had a lot of snow around here, and I went home early to work from home because I had no intention of being caught in what's outside right now.
Well, how much you got?
So far, I think we've been told about 7 centimeters,
Mm-hmm.
which is a lot for a short period of time. and another 7 or so supposed to fall overnight, totaling 15. Then
Okay.
we get 1 day's respite,
Mm-hmm.
and then another storm hits us over the weekend, which is
Mm.
going to dump up to another 20 centimeters of snow on us.
Oh boy.
And I was talking to Mama Canuck tonight, and I said, "This is the snowiest winter and coldest winter I can remember in decades here around these parts."
Mm. We
Because
got.
normally the lake acts as a bit of a moderating effect, but
Mm.
no moderation now.
Yeah, we had a couple of storms this last few days over here. 3 to 5 inches in the first storm, and then we had another storm overnight last night that left us about an inch. And the forecast originally tonight called for another inch or two of snow, but now they think it's going to be about half an inch. And now the heavier snow is going to be upstate, sort of like in your direction.
Thanks, we don't need more.
But oh boy, I wonder what the weather is going to be like in Philadelphia on Valentine's Day, because it's a little bit of a special occasion. They have to have a parade to celebrate one Vince Lombardi trophy.
You know what? That's actually Philly for you, to have a parade for the Super Bowl champions on Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah.
I'm going, okay, we know what Philadelphians want. They want their sports heroes. They don't want no Valentine's Day. Cupid can go, unless he can figure out how to shoot a puck or dunk a basketball, etc.
Yeah. But yes, congratulations to the Eagles, and congratulations also to Nala, one of the Umemi cosplayers, diehard Philly Eagles fan. So she was completely celebrating. I saw her social media. Kudos out to you, Nala, and congratulations. Yes, it was Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia defense. Now, more so the defense, I think, than the offense.
Yeah, as a Buffalo Bills fan who had to suffer through 2 weeks ago another heart-wrenching loss to the Kansas City Chiefs, excuse
Yeah.
me, this was delicious demolition.
Mm-hmm.
As I said to someone else, I said, "Fly, Eagles, fly, make the Swifties cry." And boy, were they bawling by the end of that mess. Oh.
Flack said at least Kansas City was not warned that the refs could award a score for the Eagles. Well, the Eagles did have a tush push for a touchdown, didn't they?
Yeah, Eagles pretty much pulled out everything from their bag of tricks.
Mm-hmm.
And Andy Reid had that million-mile stare he gets when things aren't going well. It's just like,
Yeah.
and somebody on Reddit referred to it. No, it's not a million-mile stare. It's a thousand-island stare. As in addressing, on a burger.
Yeah. But kudos to the Chiefs for an amazing season. It just, when it came down to it, well, let's see. There were a few questionable calls early in the game, including that first penalty for OPI, offensive pass interference.
Yeah, that one was sort of a, uh-oh, are the refs on the stuff again?
Right.
But then as the game went on, I said to myself, okay, I know what happened now.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles Venmo went through, the Kansas City Chiefs didn't.
Right. Yeah. So that, Flax, that's exactly what I was alluding to, because they had the repeated defensive encroachments against the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, the Eagles were a little, shall we say, hoppy
Yes.
during that game, and it was like, okay, you really want to give up a score like that? I don't think so.
Yeah. So let's see. Jalen Hurts goes to Disneyland. We knew that was going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen to Travis Kelce. Looks like he was sad-faced leaving the Caesars Superdome.
Well, considering his girlfriend is Taylor Swift, I don't think he's really that sad-faced.
Mm-hmm.
Or he shouldn't be. So that was, Now, we'll talk a bit about the halftime show. Now, this was a show that I will say this. Only because I know of the beef between Kendrick Lamar, or whatever his name is, I think I've got it right,
yes.
and Drake.
Kendrick Lamar.
Yes, and Drake, do I understand the subtext behind what happened.
Well, this
In
is some
brief,
start to finish.
in brief, Drake sued Kendrick Lamar regarding some rap lyrics,
Hmm.
which of course got tossed out of court because you cannot sue for hurt feelings.
Yes.
Other people have found that out the hard way too.
Yep.
So that got tossed. And Kendrick decided, you know what? If you want to play stupid games, you're going to win stupid prizes. And that halftime show was Drake's stupid prize.
So Samuel L. Jackson appearing in as part of the performance. He's one of the special guests of the halftime show.
Yeah, and having the entire stadium chant one specific thing towards Drake was absolutely, it was like chef's kiss.
There's also been a little bit of a theme that I think Mascot Umemi would like. The fact that we had like a little bit of a video game layout on the field, because you had these all these controller shapes all around in the corners, and then at the end of the performance, game over appearing on the back of the arena there.
Yeah, that was really impressive, honestly. And then, of course, the very start of the performance,
Mm-hmm.
if you're a car person, which I somewhat am, you would have seen a car and you're going, no, 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 no. They didn't do that to that car. No, no, no. But no, it turns out it was not the car I thought it was.
Okay.
It was a lower trim level that they dolled up to look like.
Right.
Because the trick was it looked like what is called a Buick Grand National X, which was a turbocharged V6 that in its day was outrunning the Corvettes that GM was putting out at the same time, which of course GM didn't like because of course the Corvette is the Halo car, so that didn't last too long.
Right.
But what they did in this case was a regular plain Jane Buick Grand National that they then dolled up to be a GNX before they took hacksaw to it, apparently. Multiples.
Yes, and you have all these Kendrick Lamar's the dancers appearing through the car out of nowhere.
Yeah, again, that's a lot of brilliant choreography and a lot of practice to make sure that goes off without a hitch.
Mm-hmm. So, once again, for the reasons you said, Neff, the fact that there was a backstory, that really was what this halftime show was all about. If it were not for that backstory, it may not have been on par, with some of the other halftime shows we've seen. But the fact that was the nexus of everything, if you will. That's why I think it'll go down as a great performance for him.
Yeah, as I said, I mean, it was brilliantly done, and all I can think of is I thought I heard in the distance about 25, 30 kilometers to the east of me.
Mm-hmm.
I heard someone's teeth grinding loudly, and somebody about to do something very foolish and contacting another legal team.
Oh, no.
No, don't do that. Don't be stupid. But hopefully Drake has learned of what is called the Barbara Streisand effect. For those of you that don't know the reference, this was a reference to somebody who, in this case Barbara Streisand, who sued again over hurt feelings. And made it worse. Made it worse because they kept at it. Instead of taking their L and going home.
Yep. Oh. Hey, Neff, baseball's on its way now. That's a good news, right?
Yeah, pitchers and catchers reported this week. I also know that I saw part of an interview with Shohei Ohtani. He is not pitching yet. And frankly, I don't think the Dodgers need him to pitch this year. I mean, he'll probably want to at some point.
Right.
But it's a question of coming off the Tommy John surgery and making sure it is gradual, not, okay, go 0 to 100. Because Shohei Ohtani strikes me as a person who wants to go 0 to 100. So I hope he listens to his body, not, what's between his ears.
And hey, we got Juan Soto and we got Pete Alonso now, so I think the Mets might be in good shape.
The Blue Jays picked up Max Scherzer for a year. And all I can say is, this is what happens when you upgrade your playpen and you don't upgrade your players.
Exactly. How old is Max Scherzer now?
I don't think he qualifies for a senior citizens discount yet, but in terms of baseball, I think he does.
Yeah. So I'm sure, and Neff should be happy at the Leafs are the next team behind the Panthers, called it says.
Well, here's the problem with that. As long as we end up facing a third place team that is not Tampa Bay, it'll be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's Tampa Bay again, it's the same, rinse, repeat cycle. I mean, if Ottawa somehow manages to hold on to third place, that will be epic because it will be the return of what is known in hockey circles as the Battle of Ontario. A series of Stanley Cup playoff between the two, Ottawa and Toronto, that were epic in its ferocity and the fact that Toronto basically made Ottawa their, little play toy. That's the polite way to put it.
So, be exciting times. And then, of course, we have college basketball will be coming to a head next month. So, always fun to do that. My grand bucket list idea of taking a few days, doing a trip and watching college basketball tournament games from one place to the other will have to wait at least another year, I guess.
Yes, you do have other plans right now. Yes, and of course, this Sunday, we go back to round and round and round she goes. Where they crash, nobody knows.
The Daytona 500?
Yep. Well, you see, he knows me too well, folks, to know that, if I say something like that, he knows exactly what I'm referring to.
Yep.
And then actually MLS season is starting soon, which I never quite understand because, especially for Toronto and other northern climes that are not in dome stadiums, playing football or foosball outside sucks rocks.
Yeah.
I mean, they do it over the pond in the Prem, but their weather is not as severe as what we get here in terms of snow, etc.
Right. We'll go back over to Japan now, land of the rising sun, and the reason we created Extreme Anime Radio in the first place. We probably touched about this previously, but there's been some further updates coming out about the situation, and it does deal with anime in quite a significant way. Not just anime, but also all the programs that air on a specific network in Japan, that being Fuji Television. And as we've pointed out in previous months, there has been a big uproar of Fuji Television over one of their presenters, Masahiro Nakai, former member of SMAP, the boy band, and he evolved into becoming a TV presenter. He was caught up in a scandal where he paid an undisclosed, a reported 90 million settlement to a woman after some trouble happened. And this was reported by one of the Japanese tabloids, and it created a stir and whatnot. And as per usual, a lot of sponsors pull out of their programming. 90 million yen, or 580,000 US dollars, Neff, Flax. So the sponsors pull out, and lots of different networks, not just Fuji TV, suspend their programming involving Masahiro Nakai. As a fallout, big sense in the Japanese culture of taking responsibility for your actions. And so after a while, Masahiro Nakai announces he's going to retire from the entertainment industry. So you think that might be the end of it, but Fuji Television apparently makes it worse. At least that's how it's being reported. One of their investors, companies that's invested in Fuji TV Holdings, is an American company, Dalton Investments, and they have sent several letters demanding changes in Fuji Television's leadership, demanding resignations, demanding accountability. In the midst of all this, Fuji TV holds a press conference to say that, to provide their position, but their first press conference is criticized because it was close to the public and only a certain number of reporters were allowed. I would say close to the press, not to the public, close to the press. Only a certain number of newspapers were allowed to ask questions and stuff. So people and companies were criticizing Fuji Television for the closed nature of that. So that caused a lot more trouble. And then a few weeks ago, finally, the president and the CEO of Fuji Television and the chairman, I believe, both resign from their positions. And they're going to create an independent inquiry. But now there is fallout. There are dozens of sponsors, and I have the total here from this Anime News Network article, which quotes some Japanese newspapers. There have been 0 sponsors once again for the anime shows Chibi Maruko-chan and Sazae-san, which are 2 staple anime shows that air on Fuji Television. No ads. Instead, Fuji is either running ads for their own programming or running ads from the Japanese version of the Ad Council. And now they say that, according to what I'm reading here, they're expecting more cancellation of sponsorships this month and possibly in the coming months as well. Already, they have lost over 80 corporate sponsors from Fuji Television programming altogether. Loss of corporate sponsorships is expected to cost Fuji Television the U.S. equivalent of $150 million. What a big hole that they're going to have to try to dig themselves out of. So, Neff, this is what happens when, something that happens, especially in a culture like Japan, just spirals out of control and down like this, according to the reports.
I'm trying to figure out, because from what I know, and it's not a lot, I'll be honest, most Japanese companies are very predictable, very staid, very much careful about what they do.
Right.
This is the equivalent of walking into a rake factory blindfolded and literally smacking yourself in the face every time you take a step. When you handle this, I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
You can't be serious. Whoever was advising you, they should be one of the ones walking the plank right now, because they completely botched this.
Yeah. The key point here is that the sponsors keep dropping from Fuji Television despite the resignations of their top members.
Well, here's the problem. Like, you can, when the top people resign, okay? The problem is there's still institutional rot to deal with, because you get to the top and then your influence filters down. Right? It's with every workplace. And so if the management is bad, the upper management, they will tend to, somehow influence, affect things that go on below them, and so on and so on and so on. So I'm pretty sure a lot of sponsors are taking the position to look, this TV station, to be a bit crude, needs an enema. And unless the enema is coming soon, the end may be coming soon for Fuji TV in its current form.
Well, I don't know about that. It's one of the main networks of Japan for decades and has brought us a lot of great anime programming. Do you think that it just goes away by name?
Well, I think a rebranding is the minimum they're going to have to do at this point. I
Mm,
don't see how the Fuji TV brand survives this
mm,
unless, like I said, there's going to be a lot more bodies hitting the floor.
right.
Because right now the sponsor's position is, hey, you can take the top the trim off the top,
Mm,
but you got to cut a little deeper for us to believe that things are going to change.
right. But no, it's very shocking to see how this all has gone downhill for Fuji Television. Me especially, very curious to see how this develops, in the near future, and see how it also affects anime programming. Because now, without, let's say, they can't get any sponsors when the new anime shows come around in a few months, which I think they do in a normal rotation. Um, the animes are going to be like, what?
Well, either they're going to find new places to be broadcast, or
Mm,
some of the ones that we were promised
mm.
will simply not appear.
Right.
Now, I don't.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I want to continue here. No sponsors equals no money. No money equals no funding to bring these anime shows onto air.
Yeah, and I don't know off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure the spring season had been pretty much set by now, but I
Hmm.
couldn't tell you off the top of my
Yeah.
head which of those anime would be airing normally on Fuji TV and therefore are in, potential trouble.
Right. I'm sure in the coming weeks we'll hear more about what's going on with that, and if any shows will be affected, maybe be postponed or something like that, or maybe they'll find a home on another network. I think that's happened with a few shows, right?
That's something that happens not only in Japan but all over the world, where if, network A says, "No, we don't want to pay for this anymore. We don't think it's worth the ratings."
Hmm.
Network B comes along and says, "Okay, no, we'll take that."
Right. And in anime news, let's go back to my favorite anime, Sailor Moon, Neff, because it just feels like yesterday that Viz Media released Blu-rays of Sailor Moon content from the 90s. So I picked up all the shows and movies, and now let's
Mhm.
say here, as of February 11th, which is yesterday, a new Sailor Moon 3 film collection on Blu-ray for $30 US, available at your favorite retailer like Amazon or Target or Walmart.
Which three movies is in this collection?
The three movies, so it's gonna be let's see. It says in this triple feature set, they don't tell you specifically what the movies are, but I have a funny feeling they're RS and Super S.
I was going to say, wait a minute, they're not. You know, when
Yeah.
you do a press release, you should be descriptive. You really should be, because
I'm not, this is not a press release. This is viz.com where they're actually listing the product.
ugh, I hate that. That drives me nuts, because
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you're trying to push a product to sell, and you're being deliberately obtuse and vague with the description of that product.
Hmm.
That's just stupid.
Right.
I I mean, they're probably thinking they're only going to sell to the diehards. We'll figure it out real quick.
Hmm.
But I don't think you want to only sell to the diehards. You want to try and get the casuals to
Right.
say, "I've never seen these.
Hmm.
Let's take a flyer on them for $30 US."
Right. It's a one disc Blu-ray set, 5 features. It
Hmm.
says 5 features, and they also mention they include Makeup Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon and Ami-chan no Hatsukoi, which are the 2 featurettes from within that time frame. So those two plus the 3 would be a total of 5 features.
And I would assume, I'm just guessing here, that if it's the English dub is included, it will be the new English dub.
Let's see. Stereo, Japanese and English audio, English subtitles, English SDH. So I would imagine
Okay.
the SDH goes to the English audio, right?
Well, I was going to say, I just wanted to know if they were using. I'm assuming they're going to be using the newer dub than
Right.
the original dub
Right.
that's only on the DVDs, which I
Right.
own.
Right. Mm-hmm. So no, so it's probably the same dubs that came on the other discs from a few years ago, right?
That's my guess. Yeah, the newer dubs with the replaced voice cast. Yeah.
Okay. So, in all reality, my take on this, I'm guessing I forgot how much I paid for the other movies because I do remember each movie came on each individual disc. So now you're getting all three of these movies for $30. It's probably not a bad deal.
I'm trying to remember when I first bought the R movie on DVD way back in the day. I think I paid something like 43 Canadian with taxes, something like
Really?
that. Yeah.
Well, I
Well, that was
guess,
back when Canadian
yeah.
dollar was kind of yikes, just like it is now. Everything old is new again. Yikes. Ugh.
Well, what year was that? Then that's probably probably what you would expect back then for a single title.
Yeah, especially a more niche title.
Mm,
Like the more mainstream stuff was about 35, maybe 30.
mm-hmm.
You know, again, this was DVD, folks. It wasn't Blu-ray.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's yeah, about 43. I'm trying to, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one or two of the films still had the sticker on them, so I could look and just depress myself and go, "Holy moly!"
Yeah. So you know what this reminds me, Nev? Curious to get your take on this. I saw a documentary online the other day. Whatever happened to THX?
If I had to guess, once the Mouse bought Lucasfilm, they sort of said, "THX, we don't care. We're not going to
Appar-
put any more money into it."
Apparently, I learned a couple of things. I know that there was an audio engineer or an engineer at Lucasfilm by the name of Tomlinson Holman or Thomas Holmanson. what a big difference. I'm going to look up this guy here.
Okay.
But the THX audio system was named after him and not the movie THX 1138. Completely two different things. Tomlinson Holman. So there you go, right there. But now apparently through, as you say, maybe the Disney divestment, THX is now owned by Razer, Razer, the gaming company.
Okay. That pretty much says to me that THX as a sound format for the masses has pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I still have THX speakers, and that'll probably alluding to why THX is more into consumer products now.
Yeah, this might be one of those situations where the branding has been sold off, and now the branding gets put on everything,
Mm-hmm.
and not always the best quality of things.
Mm-hmm.
It's like RCA back in the day. Where it was
Right.
actually, quality, stereo quality, video, etc. And now it's like, I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't touch that stuff if you gave it to me. Thank you. No.
Mm. So this is very interesting. It might not have been a divestment from the mouse. When did Disney take over? Because this says the THX was spun off in 2002.
I thought when did the mouse take over LucasArts? Okay, now I'm gonna check this because I am curious myself. Let me see here. Okay, Disney.
This is live programming, folks. Let's see.
Business by Lucasfilms.
2013.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I love how the AI generated says 2012 for 4.05 billion. So
Well, it could
I
be
have no idea.
that might have been, it's ballpark estimate there. So it's actually spun off earlier than that. Lucasfilm spun off THX, and in 2002 it went to Creative, which made the same company that made Sound Blaster.
I was going to say the Creative. Now that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. I own some of their products, some of which were very good, some of which were, whoever your engineer was, I want to tie them up, throw them in a lake, and feed them to the sharks.
Now that I recall it correctly, Sound Blaster used to have THX sound cards for the computer, so that's where it all came through.
Yeah, that was their higher end stuff that I would never buy because I'm like, I'm not spending $400 for a sound card.
So now Razer, yeah, I guess that makes all sense now. There's just a little interesting thing I wanted to bring up. Um, Another report from Japan. Let's see. Convenience stores. A lot of convenience stores, especially in the Family Mart chain in Japan, are going to go through a lot of changes where they're no longer going to be selling magazines. So, like tabloids and regular magazines, you pick up from like we do from a newsstand here. Then again, if you go to a newsstand here, you don't see too many magazines these days. But now a lot of the Family Marts are going to do away with really one key part of, to me, Japanese culture, if you think about it, because, me going in person, or if you haven't been to Japan in person, watching anime shows and seeing these scenes where students or main characters are at convenience stores, or you see somebody in the background always standing around and reading something without even buying it right there. That's just, one of the things about Japan that stands out to me, and that's something that apparently is going to go away in a little bit of a respect.
Well, to be honest, the print physical media is very much on life support.
Right.
I mean, the number of subscriptions where people actually get the physical copies of something has tanked so badly. Like, I remember, this is going back many decades now, I used to subscribe to Car and Driver.
Oh.
And I stopped years ago,
Mm.
decades ago, and then now I think they're bi-monthly at best, like every 2
Right.
months, and they put more of their content online than in the Dead Tree version. So why would I bother with the Dead Tree version? It
Right.
makes no logical sense.
Mm-hmm.
Except for the fact you can take the Dead Tree version, certain places where you can't necessarily take your phone or your tablet.
So, reading this is an article from Soda News 24, quoting Sankei News. In March, another publisher and distributor will be taking over magazine distribution business for convenience store chain Family Mart's 16,000 branches and Lawson's 14,000. However, it will be ending distribution to a total of roughly 10,000 stores, or a third of all the two chains' domestic branches, after reviewing the business viability of supplying the stores with printed materials. So it's a budgeting decision.
Yeah, and again, I mean, you have to be able to sell what you distribute, and if you can't sell it and it comes back to you, then it makes no logical sense.
Right, and one of the things that the author points out in this article, it threatens to exacerbate a worrying situation in which residents of certain parts of Japan have no local retail access to print media. As a matter of fact, 1 in 4 municipalities in Japan, according to this, has no bookstore.
Now that shocks me because I can tell you that although bookstores have changed a lot here and have been reduced in number, what they've done is they've branched out into other things related to books, in
Right.
an effort to stay relevant, etc. So I'm
Right.
wondering if maybe that's something that in Japan they might look at doing. I don't know.
Right. We need to send Yomiko Reedman into the fray to help him out.
Ms. Reedman would be very upset at reading what you've just read to us and be very much potentially homicidal. Yikes.
Read or Die. So that came out in the infancy of XAR, if I'm not mistaken.
2003 for the original OVAs, and then the TV series followed after that.
So if that's a classic, that was like a few episodes. That's something I gotta check out one day, I think.
And in a bid to predict the future, watch that series, the OVAs.
Oh, I have. I'm gonna just say to watch them again.
No, but I'm saying, remember the American president at the time.
Yes.
Remember what he did at the time when he got, shall we say, slightly spooked.
To
which I would say, the current commander-in-chief.
Well, you might see something in it that in anime-related media in the near future. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I'm pretty sure. I still remember Witchcraft Works had that reference to a former president where they had one of the thugs reciting one of his famous lines
Mhm.
while beating on the male MC. And it was like, oh, every punch, every phrase, every part of the phrase was emphasized.
Mhm.
And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, it was a side character by the name of Obama, reciting the famous phrase, the best is yet to come, while pounding the crap out of the male MC and leaving him laying flat on his back.
Call it going back to I think our city print newspaper like comes on Sundays, or it used to. It seems to me that Barnes and Noble became somewhat of a toy store, but I exaggerate a bit. Where I work for the summer months, the Barnes and Noble is still there, believe it or not.
Yeah, as I was saying earlier, like our bookstores definitely have morphed into more of a cozier space. Like they will put in things like a Starbucks, especially so
Mm.
that you buy the book and then you go to Starbucks, buy their overpriced battery acid, drink that while you read your book
Hey, I
and
had
have
some of
your
that the
stomach.
other day.
Congratulations, your stomach survives.
Well, it was
Me
free
not so.
free coffee after the big game. They had a promotion all across the country. If you had Starbucks rewards, you got a free coffee.
You know what? I was watching the American feed through the Buffalo local Fox affiliate. I don't recall seeing that promotion. Now,
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, some of the ads were rather forgettable, but some of the ads were like, thank God I'm watching you, as opposed to, the drivel that was on the Canadian networks.
You're one in every 3-year occurrence, I guess, or one in every 4-year occurrence to actually watch proper big game commercials.
Unfiltered football, that's what I call it.
Yes. Oh boy, there were a few of them that included quite a lot of cameos.
Well, yeah, that was the funny part because some of them was just like, that's who. Oh, oh, including one that had a reference to a very old movie
Mm-hmm.
that was very famous.
Mm-hmm.
And that person shows up on the next episode of WWE Raw.
Mm.
It was Pat McAfee in that
Pat
takeoff of
McAfee.
the Pat McAfee, yeah. And it was just
Wow.
like blink, blink, blink. I
Mhm.
recognized him in the commercial, and for half a second it took me, and I'm like going, "That's oh god, it's him."
Yeah.
And the funny part was, I watched this week's Raw only because with the Four Nations Faceoff, there's no NHL.
Mhm.
So it's more like, okay, no NHL. I need something to watch. Let's throw on Raw on Netflix. And I will say this: people complain about it, but compared to the version we were getting in Canada, anyway, the
Mhm.
picture's better. The sound is spectacular,
Oh yeah.
and the version of Netflix that I have has no ads. So you literally do not get ad breaks. You
Mhm.
get the screen going blank for a couple of seconds at the beginning and the end of stated ad breaks. You'll see the timer in the upper right-hand corner,
Mm.
but basically you get the entire show.
Right. So, um, let's see. Call of mentions Walden Books and B. Dalton. I think we had some B. Daltons here in the city. Oh boy, that's a bit of a stretch. I want to share with you real quick my two favorite Super Bowl ads. There, I said it. After trying
Super
so hard
Bowl?
not to say it, well, you want to say it that way? That's what
Well,
happens
I think
afterwards.
well, like I said, you get blipped by the NFL. I don't get blipped by the NFL.
So there was the one with Matt McConaughey in Uber Eats,
Mm-hmm.
where I guess he pitches his movie idea, and you see Martha Stewart, Kevin Bacon, and a few other characters.
Now, there was an ad with Martha Stewart, I think I recall, where she was putting on a pair of shoes and then
Mm-hmm.
dancing, break dancing, and I'm looking at this going, okay, that's either very good CGI
Right.
or a very good stunt person because I know Martha Stewart cannot make those moves.
Mm-hmm.
If she did, she'd break things. Mostly her own bones, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. The other one I really liked is the Jeep commercial with Harrison Ford. And I like how he kind of summed it up at the end. Do you remember what he said?
No, I can't remember.
Yeah, I called it up here. This Jeep makes me happy, even though my name is Ford.
Oh. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Then again, I mean, yeah, okay.
We have follower goal met. Congratulations. We have a new follower, Just Some Native. Thank you so much for following us. Really appreciate it. We have now reached 160 followers, so now we can increase that scale a little bit more, Neff.
Creep, creep, creep. The scale goes up. I like it.
Really quick, before we sign off on the podcast, what are you watching in anime land? I'm still watching Rurouni Kenshin with Bree. I think we've come up to a critical point in the season that's currently airing.
Well, I'm watching the usual, including Sakamoto Days. I just watched the latest episode yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And again, another Sakamoto rule got put out there. Always tell the truth. Mrs. Sakamoto is like, no, tell me what's going on. This is rule number 6. She holds out literally a rule book and points to it and says, yeah. And in the back of my head, I'm going, you know, you might want to talk to the NFL referees about that. The rule book, that is.
We mentioned this in the earlier episode. It seems like Netflix wants to push Sakamoto as the next big thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, the opening song is really a banger. I mean, I have it on my playlist on Spotify. And, you know, when it comes up in the car, it's like, you know, just turn it up a little bit, a lot.
All right.
And then wish it was like 30 degrees outside so I could roll down the windows and scare everybody else. Because at 10 below, you do not want to open the windows. I don't care.
Yeah. I'm still doing my Duolingo as I prepare for a trip. And now, you know, Duolingo has been, you know, doing some susceptible things lately. Now you upload the app and you have a dead owl as the icon.
You know what? I saw that thing hit social media. I'm like, are they changing their mascot or are they just jerking everybody's chain?
It's the latter. I think they want to push everybody to their paid platform.
See, that's the problem. It's the old razor and the blades approach.
Yeah.
They'll give you the handle for free. It's the blades where they get you.
Exactly. I just stick with you know, the free version. You just sit through the ads, you know, it's a pain, and Liz likes the dead owl.
Okay, now that's something I didn't expect Liz to say. I like dead owls. What?
I know who we have to give the subscription to for Duolingo.
Okay.
We got
the dead owl version.
Exactly. Boy. So this has been a fun, nice podcast to talk about a lot of stuff. I don't know if we're going to do one more podcast before the end of the month. We might. It will either be next week or if not early the following week. We have not watched The Floor. I turned off Fox right after they presented the Vince Lombardi Trophy. I remember that. You remember they do the. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, nowadays, what happens is the presentation of trophies on free TV, free quote unquote, and then they shove it off to, you know, the cable channel or wherever to do the rest of it. And I'm going, that's not how it used to be. It used to stick around for a little while and, you know, let it breathe a bit. But now it's like, nope, we ended on the main network and we shove it off to cable if you really, you know, want to watch all the goings on after the big game.
I was going to tell you what I miss about the big game. The presentation of the Vince Lombardi Trophy. I don't know if you remember from previous years, Neff. They used to have one of the NFL Hall of Famers like parade it wearing white gloves, and they would play the long theme. Dun, 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 dun. It's one of those triumphant songs that is so popular. The NFL has, their has a chokehold on the song. You can't find it anywhere. But it used to be, that was part of the whole deal. And now you watch, and now direct your attention to Roger Goodell in the presentation of the Vince Lombardi Trophy. And then you hear a stinger. Dun, 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 dun. That's it?
You see, that's one of the things that, for example, hockey gets right.
Mm-hmm.
Because hockey does not give it to the billionaire owner.
Mm.
No. It goes from the commissioner. Sorry,
to the captain.
Every time I have to mention his name, my skin crawls, so I try to not to. Gary Bettman, excuse me. He will hand the trophy off to the captain of the team,
Yes.
the winning team, who will then hand it off to one of the other players, usually a veteran player, who it's their first cup, or it's probably their last go round, and then it gets handed off to everybody, and they get to skate around the ice with it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a much more organic, much more, a great way to top things off than the pre-manufactured, pre-cut, handing out of the Vince Lombardi Trophy, which, by the way, you cannot drink beer out of.
I think it's too small.
You can out of the Stanley Cup. You can drink beer. You can eat ice cream. You can eat cereal. You can also lose the trophy in Montreal by leaving it at the side of the road. So there is that too.
I need to read up on eating cereal out of the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, personally, I don't care how good you clean it. No. There is over 100 years of God knows what attached at the molecular level to that inside of that cup. Yeah.
And on that
if I won the Stanley Cup, I might do it too. So,
on that note, we'll close it out with a closing commentary.
If you have any questions, concerns, compliments, or complaints about this podcast or any of our Twitch streams, drop us a line. Hit us up on linktree.com/anime radio for all our social media outlets. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, our Twitter channel, our Facebook account, and our Blue Sky account. And archive versions of this podcast are available at XARpodcast.net. That's XARpodcast.net or your favorite podcasting platform.
All right, so tonight we're going to stick around, and I think we're going to continue Ace Attorney DLC, which I think was one of the more unique cases we've come across, right?
It was slightly fishy.
Slightly?
It's very fishy.
So that's the Dual Destinies DLC that we started yesterday, and we're going to continue that tonight. Whatever we don't finish tonight, we will continue Saturday night at a start time of 8:30 Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Saturday night, if we have to pick that up. So, of course, on our Discord, we will keep you up to date with that. But thank you, sir, for another podcast. For Neff, I'm JR. Thank you for watching and listening. We'll see you next time. In the meantime, remember,
keep on looking out for the Extreme Mario Twitch streams, and don't forget, archive versions of our podcast are available at xarpodcast.net. That's xarpodcast.net or your favorite podcasting platform. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next time.